Hi there, Jacki St here at the Equine Affaire interviewing Guy McLean. So excited to meet him. I've never met him before. Saw his performance last night at the Fantasia. It was just insane. He had a brand new horse. Tell me a little bit about your new horse that you just had. It was his first time out.
That's right. The 4 horses I brought over from Australia, they perform, all over the world for me. And then I've got a young baby that's from the 4 Sixes Ranch. He's by Paddy's Irish Whiskey. He's a world champion. He won the world championships with me and Dan James back in March. He's a special little boy. I say that everyone has a first. 6 months ago he had his first ride. Well, last night he had his first performance under spotlights, and he is the coolest dude in the team. He's a 25-year-old trapped in a 3-year-old's body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he had the most amazing jokes last night. If you could have been there, you should have been a comedian too. I mean, you are in your shows. It's so funny to watch you. I love it.
Thank you. My dad says I should have been on stage. He reckoned the first one out of town.
Yes. So if you weren't training horses and working with horses, what would you do?
I can't imagine life without them. There's nothing else I want to do. The comedy, the emotion, it all comes from the horses. I was the shyest little boy growing up. My parents used to worry about me. They used to worry of how I'd get on in this world. And they're the proudest parents in the world now. The horses have made me who I am. They make me feel stronger and braver and smarter and more useful. I just love them. I don't know what I'd do without them, and I never want to know.
Nice.
Yeah.
What would you give some tips for people just starting out in the horse world?
Well,
what do you think is a good way to start?
Well, a good way to start is with knowledgeable people. I say the 4 major tools in horsemanship are knowledge, compassion, patience and imagination. None of those can be bought. The knowledge comes from many years of doing it, so be around knowledgeable people. Myself, there's a lot of good people out there that they've chronicled their works in DVDs and books. That's not just going to get you there. I mean, people say, why don't you do clinics? And I say, well, I didn't learn this from a clinician.
Right.
I learned it, I was lucky. My dad had 50 horses and I would spend, 15 hours a day working with them, just and realising that not many people can do that. So buy the DVDs and buy the books and study, and then spend as much time with horses as you can.
Right.
The greatest thing about them is everyone's different, every breed's different, and the more you can get your handle on, the better. I work with some very expensive horses now. I paid $5,000 for Aussie as a gelding. I paid $200 for the father of my horses. The $200 bush colt, and who's to say who's better? They're both wonderful. They're most amazing animals. They've got so many lessons to teach, and we just need to have an open mind and listen.
Do you think the mind or the body is the most important in a horse?
I think if you can control the body of... Do you mean the shape of them in picking them? Or?
Yeah, I mean like their athletic ability versus, how they move, or versus are they really good-minded? Like what's the best component?
Got a lot to do with mind and heart.
Yes.
You can have the most athletic style horse that you've ever seen with the correct neck and softness, and he can go around like a stiff one. My best gelding, Hope, he had a neck that come out upside down. He now does collected bridleless and saddleless dressage. And then the horse that's got the perfect neck, if he doesn't have the heart and desire, means nothing. It's wonderful to be athletically gifted, but if you don't have a heart and desire, it doesn't mean anything. People say I have a gift. The only gift I have is there's nothing else in the world I want to do but be with horses. If I lost that gift tomorrow, if I lost that desire, all my skill, all my knowledge, all my physical attributes would mean nothing. So though it's good to be strong, I don't use physical strength when I work with a horse.
Well, how strong are you? Okay, I felt some stuff in there. We got it.
Felt some stuff, and I wasn't even flexing.
Sure. So tell us, what's your most favorite part about doing the clinics for people?
Well, I really love the entertainment stuff. The clinics, when I used to do one-on-one clinics in Australia, I did 70 of those where they'd bring along 10 horses, and that was like a roller coaster ride. They would come very impressed with me and therefore very nervous, didn't want to ride in front of me, and it was like a roller coaster ride. One minute I'd have them really excited, the next minute I'd have them heartbroken, because it's not easy. Nothing that's really good in life is ever going to come easy. I love the entertainment because all I could do is go out. I don't have to prove myself to anyone. I just get to show what me and my horses have done together. So I really love that. I love the joy in people's faces. I love the desire that it gives them, because you need to be inspired. If you're not inspired, you don't want to get up and do all the work that it takes. People tell me all the time how much work I must do with my horses, and for years I never thought I did, but if I chronicled the hours, it would be lots, but it don't feel like work. People say to me they love that I clean the stables and I do all the stuff with my horses. That's what a horseman does. This here, I have to be an entertainer and I have to be a public figure to make my business run. But I just love as much, cleaning the stables out, making sure I fill the buckets, because that's what a horseman does. They do so much for me, it's my job to give them back. So, they're just an amazing creature, and I want the world to know that as we travel along, that you can do anything as long as you're prepared to do it. People always ask me, will I ever be able to do what you do? And I say, if you give as much as I give, you will. I've let a lot of things go by the wayside. I've sacrificed a lot of things in my life. But I think God's got a plan for me, and some wonderful things are happening. And the joy in people's faces is just truly wonderful.
I'm so glad to hear that you get that, I call it broom time in. You know, when you're sweeping the barn, you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to take me 3 hours to finish sweeping this aisle. And then next thing you know, you're done, and you've thought about what you want to do for the day, your new goals. You know, what was your favorite movie last night? All that funny stuff. I love broom time. It's the best part of the day. So tell me a little bit about where you grew up and how you got to this place.
Yeah, well, my dad owns Susan River Homestead, which is a resort in Hervey Bay, Queensland, over in Australia. Beautiful place, 1,600 acres. We had 50 guest horses for me to play with, and I write articles now on the sort of breeding I'm riding now. You know,
you can write too?
Yeah.
She does everything.
With a pencil. So I've got a grandson, a Hollywood Dunnet and Shining Spark, you know, two of the best bloodlines in the quarter horse world. But if I'd have had him, you know, 20 years ago when I had those little bush ponies, I wouldn't have known what to do with him. You know, we rode horses that didn't have much natural desire or athletic ability. But when you can get the most out of them, you can get the most out of the best ones. You know, the horses I get to work with now are at the highest level naturally, and I'm able to bring more out of them. And my dad said to us as kids, my dad was a wonderful footballer, and he took us 5 boys to Queensland and wanted us to grow up in the bush. He didn't want us to grow in the city. And so we bought 50 horses and started off as greenhorns, what they call you in Australia. If you've never been on the land, they call you greenhorn. And now the people who used to call us greenhorns, they go and buy horses off my dad and used to get me to train them. And so Dad always said, I don't care what you do with the horse, as long as you don't get hurt, as long as you don't hurt them.
I'm sure that never happened.
Oh, it happened all the time. And people say, oh, you know, do you ever have mistakes? Of course you do when you're pushing the limits. Now, anyone who won't make a mistake on a horse is never trying hard enough. Fellas like me and Dan, we're pushing the limits every day. We're trying to get the very, very best. And when you do that, you're teetering on the edge, and every now and then you drop a foot off. But, you know, I say that living on the edge is dangerous, but the views from there are breathtaking.
Right.
You know, it's amazing. So having that, as a kid, I say this, I've said this in front of thousands of people with my wonderful dad sitting in the crowd. I say that I love my dad being here. I said, but as a kid, I kind of wished I grew up in another family. And it wasn't that they didn't love me. It's just that we had these no-bred horses, you know, and didn't get to compete on the weekend. And I knew people that were competing on $30,000 or $40,000 horses and travelling down the road. But they were in the traditional world of horsemanship, and I wouldn't have been able to do what I do now. You know, those people now come and ask me for tips on horsemanship. So thank God for Dad and Mum for allowing me to grow up and having to earn what I have now. You know, it's wonderful to be given things, but we don't respect them till we earn them.
So I know you have like methods that you use for all the horses, and of course every horse is different.
Yeah.
Do you ever try like brand new methods? Like how do you think of new things like, oh, I've never been able to get my horse to do this. Am I just going to try it, or should I, you know, go to contact someone else on how to do it first? You know, do I step outside the box and just work on it myself, see what gets me somewhere? Like how do you do new things?
A lot of people ask me, you know, who taught you to do the stuff I do, and a lot of the stuff I do has not been done before. So the father of my 3 performance horses, Nugget, he used to be my guinea pig. Anything that I thought, you know, I say imagination's a big tool. Anything I could think of, I'd take it past him. And he'd just shake his beautiful old head and say, oh, Dad's got a new trick, and was able to do it like that. But I say to people that while you're learning, this is incredible. Equine Affaire is an amazing place. The problem is people come along and they see what I do and they see what Dan does and they see what everyone else does, and they go home and just try and throw it all at their horse. You know, the biggest thing is to have a foundation that we all need to go to. And there's things that I will change throughout my career. I hope in 20 years' time people say that I'm so much better than I am now. I hope to improve, and yet right now I'm the very best I can be. I know for a fact I can't be any better at this minute because I try to improve every day. But I say it's great to have a solid foundation that when you try something new that you never wreck that foundation. You know, if we're playing and chopping and changing, horses want the same. They want things to be the same every time you come to them. They hate change. And so when I'm working with them, I certainly try to work that way, that I'm going to be the same with you every day. And if I try something new, I'll always have a solid foundation that I can return to. You know, I can get my horses halfway through a lesson to where they look like they've totally upset, and then I can drop them back to the things I did on the very first day of their life, and I can reset them again. So many people get a horse from nowhere and then build a big skyscraper on top of rocky ground. Right. You know, if I have any troubles with my horses at Liberty, the worst thing I'll ever have to do is pop a rope holder back on them and drop them back to the very first day that I started them. You know, Ozzy let me stand on his back and crack whips in the first half an hour of his life. That solid foundation that I have, you can always return to that. So as you're learning, it's great to learn, but just make sure that you don't ever throw away the things that have always worked. You know, certainly embrace new things, but make sure that you just keep adding. Don't throw away the things that have been good, because the problem, as I say, horses don't like change, and they don't want to see that you get up and, you know, a bipolar trainer would be awful for a horse. He wants you to be the same every day.
Yes. So, coming from Australia, has it been a lot colder here for you so far today?
Yeah, it certainly is. I come from Queensland, and that would be the equivalent to Texas. And people say, why do a lot of Australian horsemen move to Texas? Because it reminds us of home. But this is wonderful, but it's no different to the Snow River Mountains, you know, where the man from Snow River was from. It's cold there, but you're right up in the mountains. So when I was sitting with my horses the other day, I mean, I travel them with 2 blankets on them all the time, and we're sitting with the snow blowing in at their back, and my teeth were about to fall out of my head. And they were just standing there so beautiful. I'm so proud of them. They're amazing. That's
awesome. So if you had to guess, if you could double the temperature of zero, what would that make it outside? Like, how cold would that be?
Double the... What do you mean? Sorry.
Double the temperature of zero. I mean, that's pretty cold.
Yeah.
What would that feel like?
Yeah, cold.
Really cold.
Because see, 0 degrees Celsius in Australia is 32 degrees Fahrenheit over here. Yeah, so at the moment I think it's like 4 degrees Celsius.
Okay, what's the best part of a sandwich?
The best part of a sandwich? And, depends on if you're a vegetarian or a meat eater.
For you.
Oh, best part of the sandwich for me? Yeah, the meat and tomato.
The meat and tomato, okay. If you were going to have a biography done after you, what would they call it?
The horseman's path, I think.
The horseman's path? Okay, what about not regarding horses? What are your 3 favorite things?
My daughter.
Or hate. 3 love or hate.
Yeah, well, my daughter is my life. I don't get to see her very much, and she's one sacrifice that's been the hardest thing for me. I speak to her every other day, and she's so proud. She wants me to be famous so she can be famous, and my daughter is the light of my life. My father is my hero. And my wife obviously is huge for me. She's amazing. But my father, and I have a wonderful brother that is a stuntman and nearly lost his life 3 years ago. And he is back and he's running marathons and doing some amazing things. And he's a hero for me also. I just love him to death. We're very blessed.
That's amazing. Yeah. It was so much fun to talk with you. I loved all your theories and topics and just watching you. I mean, I took a little bit of video last night, and hopefully we can put it on for you guys. But just to watch you was just so much fun, because like you said, you step outside of the box and you do things that nobody else has done, and I think that's what's so impressive to a lot of people watching you. You know, there's a lot of different ways to train a horse, but to think of new ways is just, you know, not everybody can do that.
Yeah, certainly don't think outside of the box if it's not going to work. Don't be different just for different sake. I don't go out there and say I want to be different just so I can be different. I go out to be different because it's better. You know, I say finding a better way is my motto. It's what I call my DVDs and everything, because every day I want to improve. But that doesn't mean I chop and change. It just means if I can add a little bit. You know, people say you must spend many hours, and I say I spend many hours on me, but not many hours on my horses. You know, I can get them as I get smarter. They do it quicker. Horses do things to benefit themselves. If you can get them to think that it's the best thing for them, like my horses go into that arena, and I know for a fact they're saying, let's do everything he wants and we're back in the stable. Because they know for a fact if they play up, I'd still be out the back training them to this minute. They know how dedicated I am, but they train me to get them, put them away and look after them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
I would love to be a horse at his farm. What a good life.
Well, they do have to work, but they love it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking with us.
Pleasure.
I loved it. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Hey there, we are the 3 fillies of Horse-A-Day.
Chris, Tina, and Jackie.
We would love for you to check out some more of our videos and interviews at horseadayblog.com.